Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistic professor gives you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and for the latest updates, information, you can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides. This Major League Baseball episode covers both games scheduled to be played on Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. In case you're new here, check out the webpage on the banner. It's listed right there, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new for a primer and explanation. You can pause if need be. Otherwise, the goals for this episode are to share key information about these games, give you a few things to think on, and explain why certain plays are being made. I never recommend blindly tailing or fading any pick, but rather to hear the justifications and thought processes to make sure you're fully on board with me or against me before investing your hard-earned money. As always, remember that there are no locks in gambling. So what I provide are loves, locks, and leans. It is A, B, and C grades to indicate my confidence level with respect to scaling wagers. However, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to say we'll be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Not a good Tuesday. Lost both of the plays. Didn't touch either total. Both did go under, but stayed away from both of those. Like I said, we're not going to be profitable every day. Still been a very profitable playoffs for us. Hopefully we get back on track here on Wednesday. Nothing more to say other than that. It's overall been more ups than downs, and playoffs been up. But, yep, Tuesday wasn't good. But we'll get them here on Wednesday. Before I get to the slate, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free. And if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. And a reminder, we've started that Patreon page for those of you looking to support the show and get extra benefits. Membership starts at just $3 per month. It's the play of the days, any added plays that I'm unable to make on show because there are no lines available. And again, our top tier Patreons, $15 a month, get you early access to projected spreads. I have a projected spread for every single potential game of the championship series. Projecting pitchers, I don't really know who's going to pitch in all of them and exactly how these managers are going to handle. No days off, and it's going to be interesting. Games 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all without any days off. If you count that up, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and what are you going to do? Go back to the guy who used in Game 3 on short rest? You're going to go on a 5-man rotation? Don't really know, right? I assume it'll be short rotation here, is what I'm assuming. But anyway, I got projections for all those games up on Patreon, $15 a month. Gets you that early access. About to run, after I get to recording this, about to run the series probabilities for each team winning in a certain number of games. Again, lots of benefits over there on Patreon. If you want to join us there, that link is in the show description, or it's just patreon.com/pickswiththeprofessor. But we'll get right to it here. All lines courtesy of BetOnline. Sign up link in the show description. And current as of the time of this recording on Tuesday night. A reminder, the price you see on screen in parentheses is the money line price needed for that play to reach a certain level according to Sideline. 4:35 Eastern. Important note, of course, it's 1:35 local time in San Diego. It will be a hot one, even though it's October, middle of the day, a little bit of heat here in San Diego. Mid to upper 80s for the entirety of this game. The ball doesn't tend to fly in that ballpark, but this is going to be the most hitter-friendly weather that we can really imagine for Petco Park. Winds will be blowing in, maybe a little bit across. The more across it is, the more friendly it is to the hitters, the more in it is. Obviously, the more friendly it is to pitchers. And I would say more across, it's not friendly to hitters, it's just not friendly to pitchers, which kind of works out to help them out, right? So if I were to take this and say the winds are blowing across, Sideline would say the total should be maybe more like 7.3, 7.4. If I were to take the winds and blow them straight in, we're talking more 7.1, 7.0. But either way, I think it should be 7 to 7.5, depending on exactly what that wind does. I will update the total in the morning. So check the sheet. I'll have it there at the bottom. I'll say when I updated it. So you can see if it's changed off of the current projection of 7.2. Either way, I'm going to lock this over in. Even if the winds blow in, the projection drops to 7.1 or 7.0, 87 degrees, the ball flies through air at that temperature. And we tend to see in San Diego a lot of night games. and a lot of games with temperatures in the upper 60s, maybe the low 70s, but this extra warmth is going to make it play like a different ballpark. I think the ball is going to carry a little bit better. I think the total number looks just like it did the day before. And I would agree that the pitchers are pretty similar. The difference between Yu Darvish and Blake Snell is not a lot. According to Sideline, Darvish got an 80 grade. Snell gets an 84, but Snell's looked really good this last part of the year. And his last start there in the playoffs, I believe it was one of his best ones that he's had, one of his deepest ones that he's had. A pretty good pitcher there. And look, Zach Wheeler was on it on Tuesday, and Nola is just as good, if not better. So the pitching, I think, is about the same, but I think we're going to see much more hitter-friendly conditions. I talked about this for Tuesday, a game starting with the sun up, but it wasn't this hot, and the sun went down, and then the runs just disappeared, which can happen in that ballpark. Day game, though, I think it's a different story. I think we see some runs finally. I think this number's a little bit lower just as an overreaction to that game one. I think 6.5 is too low. So I'm going to lock in over 6.5 minus 125 as an official over recommendation from me. And with regards to side, as you can see there on screen, I'm going to take the Padres minus 122. And you can see that falls squarely in the B grade range. I would need a minus 114 for an A grade pick. Minus 115 and minus 124 is a B grade pick. So Padres minus 122. Lock that in as a B grade for me. I think it's the right side. I just don't think there's a ton of value on this one. Sideline says it should be Padres minus 126. So a slight edge to the home team, but really not a drastically different handicap in game one. Again, Wheeler was awesome, and that's possible that Nola does the same thing. But I mean, sub one guy out for the other. They're both really good, but they're not perfect. And the Padres offense is good. And it didn't show up in game one, but that doesn't necessarily tell us anything about game two. Darvish pitched well. I expect Snell to pitch well. Billy's offense is good, not as good as the Padres offense. Darvish and Snell, good, not as good as Wheeler and Nola. Difference, I think, is the Padres bullpen of the game being played in San Diego. Didn't work out in game one, but that doesn't tell us anything for game two. It's different pitchers, different weather. It's just a different game. Players wake up, feel different, hit different. I mean, the difference between, a couple of those line drives being out for the Padres and being home runs is not that much. I mean, it's a lot of random variation. So I still think the Padres decide. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction here to both of the way the first game played out with regards to the side and the total, but only a B grade pick because the value at minus 122 is not overly strong. But again, minus 114 would get me an A grade if that's a price you can find at any point. The night game, Yankees at the Astros. Listen, as an Astros fan, this is the sixth straight ALCS that my team has been a part of. It's just kind of how it plays out. It seems like it's a lot of fun as a fan. I have to tell you, this is the most confident I've been as an Astros fan in any of these ALCSs. This Yankees team is going to have a near impossible time winning this series just based off the way it's set up for them. If their bullpen had been healthy like middle of the season, maybe had they not traded Jordan Montgomery away, which was a questionable decision, in my opinion, and now they have to use Taillon, who's definitely a downgrade, maybe a different story. But with this bullpen, the way it is, now having to play 8 games in 9 days, the travel in this one is miserable for them. This is a massive edge to the Astros in game one. Their pitchers are set up right, having all this rest. The Yankees pitchers are not. Not to say that the Yankees can't win this series. Anything is possible in baseball. We saw that with the Padres beating the Dodgers in the last round, right? Nobody would have expected that to happen. There is random variation, but with regards to just how it sets up really well for the Astros, including in game one. Justin Verlander versus Jameson Taillon, I don't have to tell you it's a massive edge to the Astros. Travel, don't have to tell you it's a massive edge to the Astros. Bullpen, don't have to tell you it's a massive edge to the Astros. Offenses are about the same. Both offenses are very good offense. That's the only place the Yankees can hang in there with the Astros. But Sideline says it should be Astros minus 189. Currently, that's enough for a B grade pick on the money line, but I've got a slightly different angle on this one. The total in this game is 6.5. Sideline says it should be 7.6. It's a pretty wide discrepancy. I'm going to play the over 6.5, even though it's at minus 120. I think this should be 7.5. I'd go over 7 as well. A little bit of a this is why I took the grades away for totals and just kind of say, look, I'm either going to recommend them or I'm not. you never know with Verlander pitching and this travel for the Yankees. This travel could massively affect their bats. And if it does, Verlander could go out there and throw 7 shutout innings. And if the Yankees score 0-1 runs, Astros could easily get this over by themselves, but it's a little bit harder of a task for them to do that. So I like the over. It's a recommendation. But either way, because I think there's more runs going to be scored, I think the Astros are the right side. This is that perfect combination we talked about for laying the 1.5 on the run line, which is the pick I'm going to make at plus 120. It's an A-grade pick for me. I think this is tremendous value. And I don't know why it's plus odds. To me, the probability of this happening is about 50-50, and plus 120 means we only need it to hit 45-ish% of the time in order for it to be a profitable venture. I think it's a really solid edge here on the Astros run line. I think the Astros have a really good chance of winning and a really good chance of this getting ugly. Like I said, I think the bats for the Yankees are going to be about as sleepy as possible based off this travel in game 1 against one of the best pitchers in the world in Justin Verlander, a guy who's going to come out and want to have a good start after what happened last time against the Mariners. And like I said, I think the Astros can put up a lot of runs against Jameson Taillon, who is barely better than average, and pitchers barely better than average have not had success against this Astros offense. This is a pitcher that's worse than Robbie Ray, who the Astros, had a fun time with in their a limited action against, right? And the Mariners were terrified to throw against them, right? So it's not Luis Castillo, it's not George Kirby, and they even hit Logan Gilbert, and all 3 of those guys are better than Taillon. So I think the Astros score a lot of runs. That's why I said I like the run line here. You can play the money line. It's steep. It's a steep price. I just think take the plus odds on the run line here. And like I said, I'm always a little bit nervous with the minus 1.5 with the home team unless I think it might get out of hand. And this is the game that it's going to get out of hand for the Astros. The other games, a little bit less likely for that to happen. Still possible, of course, in game 2 with Fromber against a still tired Yankees team. They'll get a little bit of a reset with that day off and going back to New York, where they'll have a much better chance in 3, 4, and 5. But this sets up to be the most lopsided game of the series, given the travel and just the massive starting pitcher discrepancy here. About as big as we've seen in the playoffs here, having a guy who's one of the best pitchers in baseball versus one of the more average pitchers. And given all the good pitchers we've seen in the playoffs, one of the worst one to pitch in the playoffs. So again, I'm all over the Astros here. If you want to split your bet, play a little safer, you can, but I'm just going A grade on the run line at plus 120. And again, double overs, Padres and Astros. That's my plays here for this Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure all the sports betting content we run on this channel is dropped right into your feed. I'll see you again tomorrow with more. Until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can get your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.